There's a man she cannot stop thinking about. He does not text her every hour. He does not compliment her every time she posts. He does not rearrange his life every time she is free. But she thinks about him when she wakes up. She thinks about him when she's with someone else. She picks up her phone hoping it is him, even when he has not texted in days. And you want to know what he did to make her feel that way? He did not chase her. He did not beg for her attention. He did not try to impress her with everything he had. He simply understood something most men never learn: how sexual obsession actually works inside the female mind. I am a woman, and today I'm going to teach you exactly that. Welcome to Women Files. Before we go any further, I need to be clear about what this video is and what it is not. This is not about manipulation. This is not about tricks or games or pretending to be someone you're not. This is about understanding female psychology at a level deep enough that you naturally trigger the kind of desire that makes a woman choose you, not because you chased her into it, but because your energy, your presence, your identity made her feel something she could not ignore. Psychologists call this intrinsic desire activation, where attraction is generated not by external performance, but by the authentic quality of a man's presence and energy. That is what we're building today. Let's open the file. What sexual obsession actually is. First, let us define what we're actually talking about. Sexual obsession in the female mind is not simply physical attraction, it's a neurological state. When a woman becomes deeply drawn to a man, her brain releases a combination of dopamine, norepinephrine, and phenylethylamine, the same chemical cocktail associated with excitement, focused attention, and craving. These chemicals do not get triggered by safety, they do not get triggered by availability, they do not get triggered by a man who is always there, always predictable, always easy to access. They get triggered by emotional intensity, by contrast, by mystery, by tension. Psychologists call this the arousal transfer theory. The brain associates elevated emotional states with the person who triggered them. If a man consistently makes a woman feel something intense, curiosity, excitement, uncertainty, anticipation, her brain begins to associate him with those elevated emotional states, and she starts to crave the feeling, which means she starts to crave him. That's the neuroscience of obsession, and it has nothing to do with looks, money, or how many compliments you give her. Why available men are invisible. Now I need to tell you something that most men do not want to hear. When you're always available, always texting back immediately, always free when she's free, always making yourself easy to access, you're not creating attraction. You're creating comfort. And comfort and sexual obsession cannot exist in the same emotional space. Here's why. The brain's reward system is activated by variable reinforcement. This is a well-documented principle in psychology. We assign higher emotional value to rewards that are not guaranteed. When a man is always available, the reward of his attention has no variable. It's guaranteed, it's predictable, and the brain stops assigning it high value. But when a man has genuine priorities, when his attention is not always immediately available, when she has to wonder sometimes, the variable reinforcement kicks in. Her brain starts assigning higher value to his attention precisely because it's not always guaranteed. She's not chasing inavailability, she's responding to genuine value. And a man with a full, purposeful life is genuinely less available, not because he's playing games, but because he actually has somewhere to be. The psychology of emotional intensity. Here's the core of everything. Women do not become obsessed with men who make them feel comfortable. They become obsessed with men who make them feel something. Psychologists call this emotional salience, the degree to which an experience stands out from the emotional baseline. The more emotionally salient an experience, the more deeply it is encoded in memory. The more deeply encoded, the more it is recalled. The more it is recalled, the more it is felt. That is why she keeps thinking about him, not because he was perfect, but because he made her feel something that stood out from everything else. So, how do you create emotional salience without being toxic or manipulative? Through 4 things. Presence. When you're with her, be completely and powerfully present, not distracted, not performing, actually there. That level of focused attention is increasingly rare and deeply felt. Depth. Go beyond surface conversation. Ask questions nobody else asks. Say things nobody else says. Make her feel genuinely seen and understood in a way that creates a lasting emotional imprint. Contrast. Be unpredictable in your energy, sometimes calm and grounded, sometimes playful and bold. This emotional range keeps her engaged and prevents the emotional flatness that kills desire. Tension. Not conflict, but the deliberate space between action and resolution, the pause before you respond, the moment you hold eye contact just a second longer than expected. These micro moments of tension create the emotional charge that her mind keeps returning to. The power of masculine presence. Now let me talk about something that most men drastically underestimate: the power of your physical and vocal presence. Research in psychology and neuroscience has consistently shown that women respond deeply to certain masculine presence cues, and these cues have nothing to do with physical appearance. Voice. A lower, slower, deliberate vocal tone activates a different neurological response in women than a higher, rushed, anxious tone. When you speak from a place of calm authority, taking your time, letting your words land, her nervous system registers that as a signal of groundedness and confidence, and groundedness is deeply attractive to the female nervous system. Eye contact. Sustained, confident eye contact that doesn't flinch or look away apologetically communicates something powerful. This man is not seeking my approval. He's comfortable in his own presence, and that triggers something primal. Stillness. Men who move with purpose and economy, who don't fidget, don't over-gesture, don't fill every silence with noise, communicate a quiet internal authority that women find deeply compelling. These are not performances. They're the natural byproducts of a man who is genuinely grounded in his own identity and sense of self. And you can build that groundedness deliberately through self-awareness, discipline, and purpose. Mystery and the imagination. Here's one of the most powerful psychological principles in attraction: the Zeigarnik effect. Psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik discovered that the human brain obsessively returns to unfinished or incomplete experiences far more than completed ones. In the context of attraction, a man who reveals himself immediately is a completed experience. Her brain files him away and moves on. But a man who reveals himself gradually, who is warm but not fully readable, interested but not desperate, present but not completely predictable, is an incomplete experience, and her brain will keep returning to him trying to complete the picture. That returning is obsession. You don't have to be cold or withholding. You simply have to understand that revealing everything immediately closes the loop too fast. Leave space. Let her wonder. Let her imagination fill in the blanks, because whatever her imagination creates will always be more compelling than anything you could tell her directly. What women actually crave. Let me tell you something as a woman, directly. Most women are not starving for compliments. They're not starving for grand gestures. They're not starving for a man who makes her the center of his universe. They're starving for presence, for the rare experience of being around a man who is so grounded in himself, so clear about who he is, what he stands for, and what he will not tolerate, that simply being near him feels like standing next to something solid in a world that's constantly shifting. That quality, that groundedness, that unshakable sense of self is what creates the deepest form of desire. Because a woman can sense immediately whether a man's confidence is real or performed, whether his calm is genuine or manufactured, whether his identity is solid or dependent on her validation to hold its shape. And when she senses a man whose identity doesn't bend, whose presence doesn't shrink, whose attention is valuable because it's not given to everyone, that's the man she cannot stop thinking about. Not because he did something extraordinary, but because he simply is someone. So here's exactly what to do, straight from a woman's mouth. Number 1, build a life worth being present in. Your purpose, your goals, your friendships, your passions, these are not competition for her. They're the foundation of your value. A man with a full life is genuinely less available and genuinely more desirable. Number 2, develop your presence. Slow down your speech. Lower your tone. Hold eye contact without apology. Move with intention and economy. These are buildable skills, not personality traits. Number 3, create emotional depth. Ask better questions. Go beneath the surface. Make every conversation she has with you feel different from every other conversation she has with everyone else. Be the conversation she replays later. Number 4, embrace the incomplete. Do not over-explain yourself. Do not share everything immediately. Let her wonder. Let her curiosity build. The Zeigarnik effect works in your favor every time you leave space instead of filling it. Number 5, stop seeking her validation. The moment you need her approval to feel good about yourself, you have handed her the power to determine your emotional state. And a man whose emotional state depends on a woman's reaction is not a man she will obsess over. He is a man she will manage. Know who you are, be grounded in that, and let everything else follow. Sexual obsession is not about what you do to get her. It is about who you become so that getting her is simply the natural result of being that man. A man with presence, a man with depth, a man with mystery, a man who does not need her validation to know his own worth. That man she will think about when she wakes up. She will think about when she is with someone else. She will reach for her phone hoping it is him, even when he has not reached out in days. Not because he chased her into it, but because he made her feel something she has never been able to forget. That is what Women Files is here for. The science, the psychology, the truth, straight from a woman. Subscribe, because next week I'm opening a file that every man in a situationship needs to hear. I will see you in the next one.